Class 9. Today let's start with chapter 5. Okay. So chapter 5, the first topic is upthrust and buoyancy. So let's understand what are those. Have you ever noticed while suppose you are taking a bath, okay? You have a bath. You have a mug for taking a bath, right? And you have a bucket filled with water. So you find that when you say it's filled with water, and if you just keep the mug on the surface of water, you will find that it's floating with only a small portion of the mug inside water. And when you try to push the mug inside water, you find that something it's opposing you to push the mug inside the water. That means you feel some upward force. More you try to push the mug inside, more upward force you will feel, as if something is opposing the mug to go downwards. And you go at the bottommost point, and then you release, you will find the mug comes back again and starts floating. What is this which you are experiencing, which you can feel that as if there is some upward force acting which is trying to oppose the motion of the mug inside the water? What is that force called? That force is known as upthrust. Thrust stands for the force up, since it's acting upwards. So when we try to immerse a solid inside a liquid, we find that the liquid will exert an upward force. It will try to, if this is a mug, you try to push the mug inside water, you will find that something is, actually you have to face some problem in doing that, because there is some force which is actually acting upwards, and you have to overcome that force and then push the mug inside. And once you just release your hand, you find that the mug will come up and again start floating. So what is that force which is acting upwards? The force exerted by the liquid, therefore, when we try to immerse a solid inside it, is known as upthrust or buoyant force. Upthrust or buoyant force. And the property of the liquids, I am mentioning liquids here, I will come to that again. The property by which they can exert this upthrust, by which they can show this upthrust, they can exert this type of force, that property is known as buoyancy. Now, is it true for only liquids? Is it true for only liquids? It's true for gases also. You will find that, say, how come a balloon can rise up? A balloon filled with hydrogen. You will find it can easily rise up in the air due to the upthrust of the air. We also actually face the upthrust due to air, but why don't we rise up? That's because our weight is much larger compared to the upthrust we are experiencing. Now, what can be the SI unit of upthrust? It's a force. So, its SI unit will be nothing but Newton. It's a force which is acting. So, obviously it will have the SI unit of force, that is Newton. Right? Now, so therefore upthrust is a property not only exhibited by the liquids but also by the gases also. So, now let's understand why do the solids immersed in the fluids will experience an upthrust. Let's see. Now suppose I have immersed a cylindrical can inside water. Okay. Now obviously it will experience the pressure due to water. Liquids exert pressure everywhere. Now then, pressure means liquid is actually exerting thrust per unit area. Now notice one thing. What about the forces which are acting like this? What about the thrust which is acting like this? Remember, pressure at all points at certain horizontal level, pressure at all points inside the liquid will be same, right? That means, see, this thrusts which are acting at each point, say at this horizontal level, equal and opposite forces are acting. So ultimately net force acting is 0. F minus F, 0 we can say. Okay. Now again at this level, see, for all the levels we can say that the thrust acting like this, they are getting neutralized because equal and opposite forces are acting. But what about the pressure exerted by liquids on these two surfaces? Are they equal? They cannot be equal because depth is increasing, so pressure exerted by the liquid will increase. What is the pressure exerted at this level? Can I write P1 equal to H1 into rho into G? What is rho? Rho is the density of the liquid. Rho is the density of liquid. And at this level, can I say P2, this is H1. I'm extremely sorry. This much. And at this level, this height is H2. So can I write? Right? So then if I know pressure, what is a thrust? Can I write F1, thrust at this surface is H1 rho G. What is A? A is the cross-sectional area. The area of this surface or the area of this surface. Same. Uniform cylindrical can. Okay. Thrust is equal to, if P equal to F by A, I hope you remember. P equal to F by A, right? P equal to F by A, so F equal to P into A. So I have used that. So at this point, the thrust exerted, can I write H2 rho GA? This one was P1, this 2 is P2. So then tell me, are these two equal? No, obviously no. Which one is more? The thrust exerted on this surface is more, isn't it? This, suppose you have this marker. Some force is acting here and some force is acting like this. If this is more, if the force acting upward is more, what will be the net direction of the force then? Upward, isn't it? So that's why the net difference in the thrust causes an upthrust. F1 acting in this direction, F2 acting in this direction, F2. F1. Which one is more? F2. So, ultimately, there is a net upward force acting, that is the upthrust. Due to the difference in the pressure level at the two surfaces, we get the upthrust. The net upward force of the liquid acting on the solid which is immersed inside, right? So then, can I say upthrust is denoted by F2 minus F1 because F2 is more. H2 rho G into A minus H1 rho G into A. So can I take rho GA common and write H2 minus H1? Obviously. What is this one? H2 minus H1 is H2 minus H1. That means it will give me the height of the cylinder, isn't it? H2 minus H1. Height of the cylinder into the cross-sectional area gives me what? Volume of the cylinder. Rho into G into V. V is the volume of the cylinder. Now, This is the upthrust, that is equal to density of the liquid. So what have we got now? Upthrust is equal to volume of the solid immersed into density of the liquid into acceleration due to gravity. Now this experiment was performed with the cylindrical can, but it's true for all kinds of solids. Okay. Now you imagine if I want to immerse this marker inside a liquid. So that means it will displace some water. It will displace some water. How much volume of water will it displace? Volume of the solid immersed. If I immerse only this part of this marker, it will displace only the volume of the water displaced will be equal to volume of this part of the marker. If I immerse inside water the whole marker, then it will displace volume of water equal to the volume of the whole marker. So then I can write this as volume of this, therefore equal to volume of liquid displaced. So volume of the solid immersed is equal to volume of the liquid displaced into density of liquid into acceleration due to gravity. What is volume into density? What is it? Mass. So can I write mass of the liquid into G? M into G gives us what? Weight. mg, weight. So weight of the liquid displaced. Okay. So therefore upthrust is equal to, what have we got? Upthrust is equal to weight of the liquid displaced. Okay. So then from here what can I say? What are the two factors on which upthrust will depend? First one, volume of the solid immersed. This one. Because if this is more, that means volume of the liquid displaced will be more. If I immerse more volume of the, say, marker, it will displace more volume of liquid. So if this is more, upthrust will be more. That's why, say, if you have a feather and a pebble, you have this example also in the book, of same mass you have taken and both are falling from same height, you will find feather is taking a longer time. Why? Because the feather has more volume than the pebble. More is the volume, more will be the air displaced by it, because I told you upthrust acts not only for liquids but also for gases. So more is the volume of the body, more will be the liquid displaced by it, and more is the liquid displaced, more is the air displaced by it. That means more is the weight of the liquid displaced, air displaced. That means upthrust is more. You imagine if this quantity is more, if V increases, obviously upthrust will increase. V is nothing but the volume of the solid immersed, that is equal to volume of the liquid displaced. If I immerse 20 centimeter cube of solid, it will displace 20 centimeter cube of liquid. Obviously, because it will try to take its own space. So it will try to remove that amount of that volume of the liquid and make its own space. So more is the volume of solid immersed, more will be the upthrust. Again, suppose if you have taken same volume of two bodies, say one in water, another in mercury, and if we immerse two bodies, you will find that water will actually, you will find the, say this is A, this is B, both are having same volume, right? Now you will find that in water, when you have placed A, it moves down a bit farther than mercury. That means this part is more for water. Why is this so? Because mercury has more density. Mercury has more density. So if density of liquid is more, upthrust will be more. So that means for even a smaller volume of, even if you immerse a smaller part of the solid, it will experience a greater upthrust due to the greater density. So you imagine if upthrust is more, that means the solid liquid will try to move it upwards more, so it cannot move down farther into the liquid much, right? And for this, if upthrust is less, so it can easily come down a bit further inside the water. Now let's see the characteristics of upthrust. First two points already fall under which one? The factors on which upthrust depends. So if I ask you what are the factors, you will be able to tell what are the factors on which upthrust depends. First is the volume of the body submerged in the fluid. So larger is the volume of the body submerged, more is the upthrust. Second point, for the same volume inside the fluid, more is the density of fluid, more is the upthrust. So these 2 points we have already done. So then these 2 comes under the factors on which the upthrust depends, as well as it falls under the characteristics of upthrust. Now you have an additional point in characteristic of upthrust, the third point. Notice one thing, mention the word fluid. Why? Because upthrust, it is possible for liquids as well as gases. So we are using the term fluids, okay? Now the last point, upthrust acts in upward direction at the center of buoyancy. So what is that? Actually, we imagine that the point at which, we imagine a point at which that point can be calculated also, okay? That you will learn in higher classes, how to calculate or how to find out the location of that points. There is a point which is imagined to be such that at that point the whole of the buoyant force will act, or the upthrust will act. That is known as a center of buoyancy. Now I'll just show you 2 things. For a body, you will notice that when we were doing the diagrams with how weight acts, how forces act, we always take a point and show the weight like this. What is this point? That means for any body, you can just in simplest form just know in this class that the point at which the whole weight of the body is said to be concentrated. That means as if that at that point the weight is acting for the body. That is the center of gravity. You will learn another definition of center of gravity in class 10. So I don't want to go into the details. We'll do it in class 10, okay? So it is found that if a body is fully immersed in a liquid, if a body is fully immersed in a liquid, either this or the body is totally, it sinks, or what is this condition? The body has sink down, right? The body sinks down. What is this condition? The body is floating but completely immersed. And what is this condition? The body is floating partially immersed, right? In this case and in this case, it is found that center of buoyancy and center of gravity coincides. That means where will the weight act? Downwards. The weight of the body. Obviously weight of body acts downward. And the force, the upthrust, acts in upward direction. It is found that the 2 points, that is the center of buoyancy as well as the center of gravity, coincide. So same, C and B. This is C and center of buoyancy B, same. Here also, same. Center of buoyancy and center of gravity coincides. But for this case, we find that the weight acts downwards. Weight of the body is acting vertically downwards. What is that point? Center of gravity, G. Upthrust is acting upwards, fine. Upthrust is acting upwards, fine. But the center of buoyancy in this case lies below the center of gravity. Okay? Now, what is the effect of upthrust then? This upthrust is acting fine. We have known why is it acting, what is the direction, characteristics, factors on which it depends, everything. Mathematical derivation of the formula you won't have in the exam, but you have to know the formula, okay? But what is the effect of this upthrust? We find that when we actually draw some water from a well with the help of a bucket, we will find that when, as long as the bucket is inside water, we find it easier to move upwards. But as soon as it moves upward in the air, it comes out from water, we find that we feel it a bit heavy. It's difficult for us to now lift it upwards. Why is this so? That's because due to the upthrust, the effect of upthrust is apparent loss in weight. Apparent loss in weight.